soul sister. Welcome to the Happy, Purposeful, and Free podcast, where we are all about living our brightest, most authentic, kick-ass life that we actually love. My name's Katrina, and I'm your guide, obsessed with giving you the tools to help you get from where you are now to where you want to go in life, relationships, and business. This podcast is all about having fun, showing you there is more to the sober life and the real talk as we share inspiring stories, tips, and tricks to help you boldly pursue your life. You are not alone in this deal, so let's do this thing together. Welcome back to another episode of the Happy, Purposeful, and Free podcast. So incredibly grateful and excited to be here with you all. Ladies, we are talking about parenting today. Parenting tween girls specifically. Now, I have one of the most amazing and beautiful little girls who is 12 years old. So she is in that stage where she's trying to figure out who she is, what is she like, what is she not like. She's learning to really but speak her voice and her own opinion. And I'll tell you what, it's got this mama going, oh Lord, please walk with me. God, please show me the way. Help me find the words to say as this girl transitions into a whole new world of life. And it's really interesting now to see it as a mom, right? Because when we're little girls, when we're that 12-year-old girl, it's a totally different story. Like we're trying to figure out how to navigate life. I remember that stage just being so weird. And as a person who never really felt like she fit in, like I felt even more like I didn't fit in as well. And trying to figure out like, who am I? Who are my friends? What do I do? How do I be? How do I act? You know, I don't remember a ton from my childhood or from that younger age, but I just remember that like I didn't want this stage because it was already awkward enough. And I can see the same thing kind of happening for my daughter, Cassidy. And, you know, we had a heart-to-heart yesterday, and she is going through some stages of, you know, one, finding her voice. And one of the things that she said to me, okay, so this is what was happening. I'll just lay the story out for you. And she's probably going to get upset if she knows that I'm recording this, but that's not my intention. And that's a whole, like, other story. Like, us as parents, you know, trying not to upset the tween when they are taking everything personally. I don't know if your girl is doing that, but mine is for sure. And so we're sitting at the dinner table and she's finished with her plate. I'm sitting next to her and I'm still eating. And I look over and she's got her bare foot up on her chair and she's picking at her toes. And I said to her, Cassidy, can you please not do that? That's pretty disrespectful. And she's looking at me with those eyes of like, I'm going to see right through you and I'm going to put my, you know, my power eyes, my laser eyes right through you. Like, how dare you say that to me, Mom? And I said, that's really kind of gross for you to be doing at the dinner table. Can you not do that at the dinner table? Here I am. I'm still eating. And Cassidy's right there with her foot up on the chair, picking at her toes, picking the toe jam out, you know, whatever. And she says to me, you're the one that chose to sit here. And I was like, excuse me? Now, this is like normal in our house, you guys. I get these little, you're the one. She's always been a girl who is really wise and has an old soul for who she is. And sometimes I don't know how to handle that. And sometimes I'm not sure what to say. Like, there is literally no handbook for parenting tweens. Yes, there's all kinds of teen books out there, and I'm sure a lot of them are helpful. Maybe you can refer a couple to me, but I am like, okay, how do we do this? I'm like, but it is not okay. It's kind of rude that you're sitting here picking at your toes at the dinner table and I'm still eating. And she said a couple of other things to me that I don't recall, but it was still around that same kind of thought process of, well, you chose to sit here. And she's just getting clearly upset. She's rolling her eyes, which I don't know if this happens to you, but you get they roll your eyes at you often and they swear that they didn't. And I'm like, I just literally watched you roll your eyes at me. The conversation goes on and something else is said and I don't remember what it was, but she ends up leaving upset, which happens kind of often in our home. And she leaves often upset. So I finish my dinner and I decide to go into her room and I say to her, like, okay, what's going on? Why are you so upset? And she said to me that she doesn't like that we get to say whatever we want. And as soon as she speaks up and voices her feelings and her opinions, it's disrespectful. And you guys, there are parenting moments where I really have to try to hold in my laughter. And that was a moment where I just kind of wanted to go, are you kidding me? Like, this is kind of amusing to me. But this is her, and I want to respect her feelings because she has big feelings. And she takes everything personal right now. And so we're working on that. And so I said to her, wait a minute, I'm the mom of the house. I'm the parent of the house. And I want you to voice your opinion and your thoughts and your feelings. I don't want you to keep those from me, but you have to understand that I'm still the mom of the house. And let's just talk about what just happened right out there. You were picking at your toes at the dinner table. I'm still eating. Would you appreciate it if somebody else was doing that? And she didn't answer. Of course. She didn't answer. She didn't say anything to me. And I'm like, you don't get to dictate what's okay to say, what's not okay to say for me as the parent of the house. Yes, your opinion is valued and you get to talk about these things, but oh my gosh, you guys, I'm like, how do I get through to this child right now? And of course, I get to dictate what I say and I get to create the rules of the house, right? I'm mom. And sometimes she is so good at the way she words things, she has me questioning myself as to whether or not I actually am mom and I get to dictate what I say or what I do. And so we had a little bit more conversation and I ended with, I'm the parent here and yes, while you get to share, I still get to decide like what the rules are. And I know for a fact that you would be upset if somebody sitting next to you was doing that same thing. And she just had this attitude about her. She had been away at a girlfriend's for a couple of days. She came home and she had this attitude. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. And so I took her phone away from her and said, I'm going to keep this. And I walked away and she was still clearly upset, not quite understanding, like, this is not justice. And I'm like, I had to remind her in this conversation too that like, Cassidy, you're a 12-year-old little girl. You're a 12-year-old girl. You're not older than that. You're trying to act as if you're 18 in this house and you're not 18 in this house. You're a little girl. Okay? I value and respect your opinion, but you're still the child here and I'm still the parent here. And so it's not that your opinion, you don't get to voice your opinion or whatever it is, but I'm still the one in charge. And so she pretty much felt as though she should be able to say what she wants as she wants and just have free reign, like as if she's an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid, right? Does anybody else deal with that? And so I walked away and, I was just like baffled. I brought my husband into the other room and I'm like, okay, you're not going to believe what went down just now. The conversation was crazy, okay? And then I'm going through her phone because I'm like, okay, what's going on? There's something going on in her world. And come to find out, she's having some issues with some friendships. And so with that, we had another conversation. And I got to share with her the importance of really understanding where she's at and that it's okay. She's going to have very big feelings and those are okay. And she's going through some different changes. She's going to have things come up that she doesn't understand. She's going to have big feelings that she doesn't understand. Like there is a lot going on in her life right now. And I wanted her to know that reinforce that. Like, we've talked about this before, but to remind her that these things are going on. And so these little attitudes like that come up, that's part of where she's at. That's part of her process. And two, for her to know that I recognize that and that it's okay for her to be who she's going to be. If she's going to have these moments, it is okay. Do I like them? Absolutely not. Do I wish they could, do I want them to be handled differently? Do I want her to show up differently? Of course. That's what I do as a mom. But also just to let her know like this is a safe space and it's okay. And there were some other things that I had found on her phone. There was some stuff going on with some friends about, it's that they're in that space where we're not friends anymore. Are we friends anymore? She said something to a friend that really hurt her feelings. And I was not okay with what she said to that friend and had a conversation around that. And ultimately, it was interesting as I was talking to her about this friendship space. I was talking to her and telling her about, it's okay to have all kinds of different friends. Like, I want you to have all different kinds of friends. I want you to spend time with all kinds of different people. And it's okay. And, best friend, yes, people have best friends, but that's really a title. You can have more than one best friend. And that best friend, because they were talking about whether or not they're calling each other best friends anymore. I told her, you guys can still be best friends and not necessarily hang out as much as you were hanging out. It's okay for that to be different. And it reminded me, myself, like, I have to be reminded of this kind of stuff too, because the relationships that we have with people are all going to be different, right? Those relationships are going to shift and change. And not everybody is meant to be in our life for the duration of our life, for the entire part of our life. And I know that I didn't grow up understanding this. I didn't understand this until actually a few years ago, you guys, which is kind of like embarrassing to say, but it's true. I didn't really understand that until a few years ago. And just letting her know, one, she needs to apologize to this friend for what she said to her. And two, you can't have this other new friend texting your old friend. That's not okay with me. You don't behave that way. And you don't say things like that to your friends. You don't tell them certain things. And I'm not sharing it with you guys right now because at this point in time, she hasn't resolved it. She is going to go apologize and talk to that friend. And one other thing she shared with me about a particular friend of hers is that she started crying, and I was proud of her for speaking up and sharing it with me that, there's this other friend who makes her feel bad because she is always telling Cassidy that she doesn't think Cassidy likes her. And she knows that Cassidy doesn't like her. And it was wearing on Cassidy because Cassidy was like, I do like you, and like always having to reinforce that. And I let her know, and this is true for all of us, like when you're feeling that insecurity, when you're feeling like I'm not good enough, like that's your stuff. And I had to explain that to her in the best way that I could. Like, that's a story that your friend is telling herself, and based upon her circumstances, she probably doesn't feel like believe in herself in the way that you do. There's some self-doubt there. And I'm sorry that she is putting that on you because that's not your responsibility. And I'm proud of you for recognizing that that's not your responsibility. And I'm sorry that it can be wearing and tough on you. And all you need to tell her is, hey friend, I love you and I care about you and I do like you. And I'm sorry if you can't believe that, but there's nothing more that I can tell you to make you believe that, and kind of leave it at that. And I told her that I gave her permission that it was okay to distance herself a little bit, to not hang out with this friend as much. It's okay that you don't want to, or, things change, and where you're at in your life, you're changing. And so you're able to hang out with more people more often. And so navigating that and being even reminded myself, even as adults, how often are we doing that? How often are we looking to another person for our validation? How often are we looking to, or saying to this other person, or not even saying it, but thinking to ourselves, well, they don't really like me very much. What are we actually looking for? What are we looking for from that person? Because whatever we're looking for from that person, guys, we're not going to get it. Because most of the time, what we're looking for comes from within. And it's a little more difficult to navigate that and kind of explain that to your 12-year-old, and especially when you're not involved with the friend necessarily in a space where you can kind of help that friend. But it's true for all of us. Like, our friendships are going to shift and change in our lives. And that's been a hard one for me to even swallow, especially over this last year, right? Because all kinds of stuff came out. All kinds of people's stuff came out. And you really find out, like, what kind of people you're hanging out with when a big old pandemic happens. And there's chaos and morals and values and judgments are happening and all of the things. And so, explaining this to my teen girl, and you guys, I'm always questioning myself when I'm trying to parent her too. Is this the right thing to say to her? How deep do I go? Is she going to understand it? Is she grasping it? And how do I navigate these mood swings? How do I navigate the eye roll and, she's not doing the eye roll. Like, when these things are coming up in her, like, where's the lesson for me as well? Where's the lesson for me? And it's okay if I don't get it right. It's okay if I don't get it right. I'm not screwing up my child, right? We're not screwing up our kids. And if you have tweens, teens, like that age, it kind of started around, I don't know. Well, with Cassidy, it started a lot younger because she's been a little wise old soul since she was younger. She's always tried to be older than she was. And so just kind of navigating that. But, around that 11-year mark until, I don't know, maybe through they hit puberty, I'll let you know. My oldest daughter is a little bit different. She's a lot calmer and chiller. She doesn't share as much. Not like Cassidy does. They're two very different people. And so it's an interesting place to navigate. And I'm just grateful that I'm like sober in doing this. I couldn't imagine what could have come out of that conversation had I still been drinking. Had I still been like hungover from the night before. Or I probably would have flown off the handle in a way that would not be very good. And so just navigating the parenthood, and being reminded of, how do I show up as a mom? It's okay that I'm not. How do I show up in my relationships with my friends, and teaching that to our daughter. My daughter, I'm so grateful that I get to teach her that, hey, it's okay. It's okay to have different people in your life. It's okay to have friends. You're going to experience a lot of different friendships. And it's not that this friend will necessarily ever go away, but if you guys distance for a little bit, it's okay. Because maybe you'll come back together. We're meant to only be, like, there's these things where we are only meant to be a part of each other's life for so long and for certain periods of time and certain growth aspects. And so it's just, what is that? What am I trying to get from that relationship? What are the gifts I received from that relationship? Is it time to surrender to that relationship? Is it time to distance? Is it time to come back together? What are those things? And Lord, you guys, just continue to pray for me, for Cassidy, for all of us during this time of growth in her own life. Navigating this is tricky, but the best thing that I can offer her and the best thing that you can offer your kids is a safe space for them to know that no matter what, they're loved and they have this beautiful space where they can come and share. And yes, they can share their opinions and their feelings. Doesn't mean we're going to go with them, right? It doesn't mean we're going to go with them at all. But you can absolutely share these kinds of things in that space. And, just showing up as we are, being the best parent that we can be in that moment is all that we can really ask of ourselves. And, what are those relationships that I'm trying to hold on to or squeeze the juice out of when there's nothing left to be squeezed? Or maybe it's not the right kind of juice for what you need right now. I don't know where that came from, but sounds pretty good, right? Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for being a part of my life and a part of this podcast. Please, I know you love this episode. Make sure you share it, tag me on social media, go leave me a 5-star review. It would be very much appreciated in helping me get this message out for the world. And until next time, thank you so much for listening. And if you loved this episode and know of someone else who has a powerful story and are doing big things, please pass them on to me. It would mean the world to me if you helped me get this message out to as many listeners as I can. So please, if you liked what you heard, it goes a long way to take 60 seconds leave me a 5-star review, and share this episode with a girlfriend. Don't forget to tag me on social media, and if that's not your thing, shoot me a DM because I would like to personally thank you for doing so. We are not meant to do this life alone, and I'm so grateful to be on this journey with you. Until next time.